Now we are going to see Ariba Buying. So far, whatever you have seen, Ariba spend management is called strategic sourcing, and this is part of upstream solution. Whatever now you are going to see, this is called downstream, where the process is follow the down cycle of a project. Okay. In Ariba Buying, what kind of activities we are going to see? So the first thing is requisition. Requisition consists of a catalog items and non-catalog items. So what is catalog item and non-catalog item? Catalog item in simple term, which contains some details about the product or services, which will brief from which supplier we can able to buy, what is the units of measurement, what is the part number, and supplier description. That is what you are going to find under catalog item. That is predefined details. Whereas non-catalog item, if the item is not available in any of your catalog, then you will be creating a requisition with non-catalog item. That means currently that item is not available in your system. You are going to add new requirement. So what kind of a non-catalog item we generally found? For example, service related. So something rent you are paying or electricity bill you are paying. These are all you will not find as a catalog items. So what kind of items you will be find under catalog? Maybe materials, chemicals, raw materials. All these things can be added into a catalog item. So again, catalogs are having multiple catalogs. One is local catalogs and supplier provided catalogs. So the local catalog means whatever the catalogs as a buyer you are uploading, and that will be available for the end users. Okay, those are all local catalog. We will talk more about this catalog when we are talking about the catalog items. So basically, the requisition will consist of either catalog item or a non-catalog item. Once the requisition is prepared, so with either catalog item or non-catalog item, once you select, it will ask additional details of accounting information. So why it will ask accounting information? Once the purchase order is made, so where it has to be accounted, whether it is a cost center purchase order, or fixed asset purchase order, internal order based purchase order, or WBS based workbench system based purchase order. This information is needed when our finance department processes the. So accounting information will be asked as soon as you select that item, and then you will be clicking on a submit. As soon as you submit, it will trigger an approval process. So approval process can be defined, which is nothing but your workflows. Ariba is very, very flexible in your workflows. So you can create a condition like, for example, if PR comes from particular region, I want this person to be approved. The PR value is greater than 5,000. This has to be approved by some other department. If PR consists of an accounting information WBS, I want WBS owner to be approved. If PR consists of a what else? Say material category as a service, I want service manager to approve. Like that, you can define n number of approval flows, maybe up to 50 or 60 approval flows. Then approvals will be sent once the requisition has been submitted. That we are going to see, and part of approval process, how we are going to create and manage approval process. We have already seen different types of approval process. What is called the serial, parallel, and custom. Similarly, you can also define your approval process for your purchase requisition. Whatever you are creating approval process, that is called approvable document. Approvable document. So what are all approval documents? Receipt, requisition, and invoice, reconciliation, user profile. These are all called approvable document, and you can able to define approval process for all these type of documents. We are going to discuss that as part of approval process. Okay. Now where we are, so requisition will consist of a catalog or non-catalog item. Once you select the item, the system will ask for additional information based on your requirement, accounting information, and also ship to information. Ship to. You can select for which plant and where the delivery address has to be done. Once you prepared your line item, you can submit your purchase requisition. Okay, in your requisition, generally you won't find the supply detail. Why you don't find the supply detail? Requisition can consist of multiple line items, and it is possible that one requisition can contain multiple suppliers also. For example, you are creating one line item for vendor A, second item for vendor B, and you can submit your requisition for one approval. So once the approval is done, POs will be created, two POs will be created, one for the supplier A, second for the supplier B. It is not possible to use the same purchase order number for multiple suppliers. So this is again an interview question will come. Can I have multiple vendors in one requisition? Then your answer should be yes. You can have multiple requisition, but POs will be created. POs will be created multiple. You can have one PR with multiple vendors, but PO numbers will be created multiple. Then there is also one more interview question which will come. Can I create purchase order directly in Ariba? No. You cannot create purchase orders directly in Ariba. There is no way you can create. It all starts with the requisition only. Once the requisition is approved, then that will automatically convert it into a purchase order. You will not have an option to directly create purchase order. All the purchase orders in Ariba will flow through requisition only. It will be linked with the PR, and PO. Then after the PO, you will do the receipt. Then you will do the invoice and you make the payment. This is full cycle of a P2P cycle: purchase requisition, purchase order, receipt, invoice, and payment. The PO is completely depending on PR. Now my PR is, I have submitted my PR for an approval. So after approval is done, then a PO is created automatically. PO is created automatically, and it will be sent to network, Ariba network. From there, it will go to the suppliers, Ariba network. All this will happen in fraction of minutes. So within a quick time, as soon as submission is done, Ariba will process one step by ordering. So it will go to the ordering state. Once it is find the supplier, it's sent to the network. It will send to the ordered status. Once the supplier receives the PO, then the supplier can give a confirmation by accepting the PO by using order confirmation, or it can also provide advanced shipment notification also, depending upon. This is not mandatory. These are all optional steps. So once the supplier to acknowledge, you can do that. Similarly, a copy of the PO will also be transmitted to your ERP system. So you can have an integration scenario here where you want the PO number to be generated in your ERP system, not in Ariba. You can define that. In that case, what will happen? Before PO is created, it will send to your ERP, get the PO number, and use the same PO number in your Ariba also, so that you will have uniformity in your PO numbers across your system. Maybe you are using Ariba only for indirect spend, but direct spend you are using your SAP or S4HANA. So you want to maintain the same purchase order number sequence, you can use that. So once Ariba is you're integrating with your ERP system, then a copy also will be sent to the ERP system. So then again, you can decide where you want to do the next step of activities, receiving an invoice. You can do parallelly. You can do receiving in both Ariba and in your ECC or S4HANA, or you can allow only to do the receiving only in SAP Ariba. This is all possible to decide. So that is the process of PR to PO creation. Now, after the PR and PO creation, you will be doing a goods receipt. Either you do a goods receipt if the item material which you have created in the PR is a material type, then you do a goods receipt. Otherwise, you post a service entry sheet. If the material, if the item is a service category. Once you do, for example, I am creating PO number 1 and line item 1 is the material for 10 quantity. Line item 2, service for 100 hours. For example, I'm saying. Okay. Then in line item 1, you will be posting goods receipt, which is also in your system. You will be calling as a receipt ID, REC. Whereas in service, you will be posting a service entry sheet. If it is mandatory, you will be posting service entry sheet. Otherwise, you will be accepting the service entry sheet. This is your part of receipt. Once this receipting is done, then the next step will be invoice. So invoice will be created. Either the supplier use the PO flip method. PO flip method. What will happen when the supplier receives in Ariba network? He supplies the material quantity of 10. Then he goes to the PO and he clicks on create invoice. As soon as he clicks on invoice, all the details from purchase order will be copied and it will tell how much need to be invoiced. Whether he want to add additional taxes, he can add the taxes and click on submit. Then invoice will be submitted by the supplier. So either that is a supplier side, it is a supplier PO flip, or as a buyer, you can also post. So supplier is sending a physical copy of the invoice. He is not sending. So he is not sending the he is not sending the Ariba invoice. He is not using Ariba to submit his invoice. He sends a paper invoice. Then as a buyer, you can also create invoice in Ariba. So you can go to create invoice and enter your PO number and select the line item and proceed with invoice, whatever you want to create it. Here, when you're doing a 3-way match or 4-way match. So, sorry, 2-way match. Do you know what is 2-way match or 3-way match? So, 2-way match in the sense, suppose invoice is presented. In 2-way match, invoice will be verified at the PO and both are matching. It will go ahead and make the payment. That is 2-way match. If it is a 3-way match, then invoice will be verified again as the receipt and again as the PO. Both has to be matched. If there is no proper receipt and the 3-way match, the invoice will fail, asking that there is no sufficient receipt has been done. So these are all possible. You can able to decide what type of receiving type, which we call in Ariba as a receiving type. Receiving types, you can decide on for particular material code, for example, material codes of computers. Then I need 3-way match. If a particular type of commodity is services, I just need 2-way match. That means when invoice is presented, it will verify with the PO and it will able to do. All these things we can able to configure under receiving types. With this, the process of goods received in Ariba happens in this way. And so one more feature is Ariba creates one open receipt. For example, here I'm saying that PO is created for material 10 quantity, right? Then Ariba will create a receipt. Automatically, one receipt will be created. For example, I'm saying receipt number 123 and available quantity 10. Now, you need to post goods receipt. Then you need to edit this REC 123. You need to edit it and enter what is the quantity you're receiving. For example, if I'm receiving quantity 5, then I edit the quantity, not edit the quantity, in accepted column, I edit the receipt 123 and I enter the quantity as 5 and then click on submit. As I mentioned, this is also an approvable document receipt. I can also set, if required, whatever the approval flows, if I want to set, I can able to set. If there is no approval process is required, then automatically receipt will be posted for 5 and another receipt, for example, receipt 1 to 4 automatically created by Ariba, automatically created in composing state by Ariba for remaining quantity. What is our remaining quantity? 5. So Ariba will create one more receipting and which will be in composing status and the quantity available will be 5. Again, you will post the quantity for 5, then Ariba will stop. Once either PO is closed or PO is completed for the receipt, then automatically creation of receipt will be stopped. So composing state of receipt will not be more if there is no receipt quantities are available. Now, receipt stage, I have received quantity. Generally, when you are doing a receipt, it will be given column called accepted quantity, rejected quantity. Okay. In our scenario, material 10 quantity has been received. So I will accept 10 and I reject 2 because the quality is not good. So then it becomes quantity as a 12. This is a wrong method. So what you need to select 8 as accepted quantity, 2 as rejected quantity. Still, Ariba will treat this as a total 10 quantity received. Now, after that, this is one scenario. Now, in second scenario, I have accepted quantity 10. Later on, I found out that 2 are rejected, or physically I have received only 9 pieces only. Then 1 excess I have received. How do I reverse this goods receipt of 10? There is no way I can go to open that receipt which I have posted and edit and resubmit, or there is no movement type call 102 or something to correct this one. You need to post one more goods receipt. So here I'm saying receipt 1, 2, 3 for 10 quantities. Then I will say receipt 1 to 5. 4 also I am ignoring. 5 I will do. Now minus 1 I need to enter. Remember minus 1 in your accepted quantity. Then system will read this as a 10 minus 1, 9 quantity has been accepted. Later on, once you receive this one quantity, then you will post one more positive quantity that becomes your accepted quantity. So that is a different scenario in Ariba. You cannot edit your previous posted receipt. In order to correct your receipt, you need to post a negative. And once you receive physical quantity, again you need to post receive 1, 2, 6 with positive quantity of for positive quantity of one quantity to make the correction. This is the process flow. Now receiving is done. Now the next step is invoicing. So invoice, we know that invoice will be either the supplier can create using PO flip method or buyer can create invoice in Ariba. So what are all different types of invoices we are having? We are having PO based invoice, which is similarly standard wherever you are having a PO, you are directly creating a PO based invoice. Then non-PO based invoice. This is nothing but you do not have a PO existing, but still you want to post an invoice. That is called non-PO. Then third invoice type is contract-based invoice, where we are creating a contract in the previous upstream. We created a contract. We want to post invoice against a contract where there is no release order. That means there is no purchase order. In that case, I am posting directly under contract invoice. You have PO based invoice, contract based PO invoice, and non-PO based invoice. Only 3 type of invoice types are available in Ariba. This is also an interview question. At basic level, when you're joining interview, they will be asking how many different types of invoices we have. You need to say 3 types of invoices. Then once invoice is created and it is submitted, the Ariba generally takes invoices without approval. That means invoices are posted in your account without any approval process, but invoices are reconciled using invoice reconciliation document. Invoice reconciliation document, which will automatically posted as soon as invoice is created in Ariba. Automatically invoice reconciliation document also will be processed. Here it will check your all the exceptions. What kind of exception? Check GR is having GR quantity is same as PO quantity. That is one kind of an exception. I'm creating one more exception. Check invoice currency same as PO currency. I'm just giving random samples of exceptions. If it fails, for example, invoice was created with INR, but PO was created with US dollar, do you want to accept or not? You created an exception. If there is a difference in invoice currency and PO currency, please assign this to invoicing agent. He will verify this invoice and he will accept or he will reject. That is his decision. Or you can also decide automatically reject. What will happen if it observes a PO invoice has come with a difference in currency used currency and PO currency, automatically rejected. Rejected communication will be sent to the supplier saying, sir, the PO currency and invoice currency does not match. Then he will submit another PO also. These are all automated processes. Based on this exception, then you can define your approval flows. If this is the condition, who has to approve. Once this reconciliation document is posted, then it is ready for payment. Ready for payment. So what will happen at this stage? Ariba will send invoice copy to your ERP system by sending OK to pay file. You will generally come across this description whenever there is a topic going on an invoice. OK to pay file. Based on this OK to file, remittance advice will be posted back from SAP. And that is visible in your Ariba network also. Ariba network. So you can see the status of your payment once a SAP posts the remittance file. Majority of the suppliers use SAP as your payment method. They will not use Ariba as your payment method. Still, Ariba also you can use to make payment, because in your Ariba was using only for non-direct spend only. Mostly suppliers, all the majority of the suppliers will have both direct spend and non-direct spend, and they want to make their payment channel in only one place so that they will get the recording, maybe balance sheet, ledger, and financials and all things to be reported in one place. To take that advantage, Ariba, the payment will be happen in your ERP system. It is not that earlier there is no option that making a payment in Ariba, but now Ariba is providing payment you can also make through Ariba, but only limited customers only using that. So with this, we are going to complete entire Ariba stream packages. Downstream related activities, starting from PR, converting it to the PO, and posting a goods receipt or service entry sheet, and accepting the invoice or creating an invoice, processing invoicing or reconciling invoicing through the predefined exception. When the exceptions are cleared, then our Ariba sends OK to file to SAP, and SAP, after make the remittance to the vendor, it will send the remittance file to Ariba. Both Ariba Buying as well as Ariba Network, so the supplier also can see the status as well as the buyer can see the status of the payment. Wherever your customer is using invoice management. Otherwise, it depends upon purely customer preference, so which one you want to use. Suppose if his spend is mostly on Ariba, he has taken a suite integrated and all SLP sourcing contract and everything is happening in Ariba, that customer will prefer to do the invoicing process also in Ariba. And some people only for in their entire spend only for particular type of commodities only they are using Ariba. For example, Madam Curie itself, Madam Curie, Honda or any company which they are using Ariba is only for indirect spend. For direct spend, materials and other, they are using their own ERP system. Then they will prefer to do the invoicing process in their own system rather than in Ariba. So you can decide at what stage you want to cover. Maybe after PO, I want to do the receiving also in S4HANA. Then there is no problem. You can do the receiving in S4HANA. Then that copy can be visible in Ariba also. Or you can stop receiving and invoicing can be done in your S4HANA and then make the payment also in S4HANA. Send only payment information. Then that information can be visible in your network also. So it's purely flexible. Depending upon client to client, that can be configurable. After invoice reconciliation is done, it is sending an acknowledgement to SAP saying that, hey, we are good to make the payment. So you don't do the further checking on your SAP side. It will contain what is the invoice, what is the supplier name, how much amount need to be paid. So that information, they will prepare the payment, the money transfer or the bank transfer. SAP finance team will make that payment. Once it is done, they will post the transaction again at that particular transaction. Then that reverse will be called remittance advice. So that will come from SAP. OKTP file goes from Ariba to SAP. Okay. And remittance advice will come from SAP to SAP. I'm saying ERP system. Either whatever you want to call, you can say SAP or ERP to Ariba. Non-PO based means, suppose now I have created a scenario here. I created a PO with quantity, material, service. Now I'm posting an invoice for this particular PO. That is called PO based invoice. Now I also have come across, for example, one. My premises is rented out and there is one repair has happened. So I do not have a time to give a purchase order to that service guy. So I will call him quickly and ask him to fix it. And he has prepared an invoice. So for $1,000, we need to pay to him. Okay. I do not have a purchase order created. The process is either you can do a post facto by creating a PO for this $1,000 and make the payment. Instead of that, directly you book this invoice over your invoice management solution by just selecting the vendor, entering details, and posting the amount. Then you settle the payment of $1,000. Then that is called non-PO based invoice, where there is no existing PO available to make the payment. You use this non-PO based invoice. When you're selecting invoice as a PO based invoice, Ariba will prompt you to select what is the purchase order for which you are creating it. If you select non-PO based, Ariba will not ask you to select any purchase order. It will allow to proceed with creation of an invoice. Similarly, when you have created a contract with any of the vendor, now you want to make a payment. For example, take the same scenario. I have created a contract with vendor X for 50,000. And the call is, whenever I have a problem, I'm going to call you. That time you come and fix it and make the payment. So you prepare an invoice and just give the reference as contract ID. Then you are going to use this contract based invoice. In his $1,000 invoice, he is going to mention the contract ID, whichever he is agreed. Then that becomes your contract based invoice. If there is no agreement with the vendor prior to your engaging with your supplier, you do not have any contract or PO, then you use this option to make it quicker payments. Maybe this is used for petty cash payments. That means any orders which are less than 500, which does not require any PO or invoice. Maybe one of your manager for giving a lunch party, he had just proposed team gathering, and he spent $350. Now he want to claim it. So how you record the transaction in Ariba? So you will be posting a non-PO based invoice and making the settlement to the vendor. Settlement. So you use that option called petty cash payment. You can use that. Let's take you to the Ariba screen. How do you create a requisition? There are two ways you can create your requisition: by going to catalog. Okay, so unfortunately, I do not have one item is added, but okay, for example, I have access to the catalogs. Okay, sure. Now catalog item. I'll go to catalog. I need to be in child side in order to do the activity, and the URL also you will find buyer. Then you are in downstream activity. Once you click on create, you will be seeing a requisition. This is the call PR, purchase requisition. Create requisition means it's a first step. Either you can click on create requisition, it will take you to the catalog, or you go to the catalog, enter your item, for example, computers. Unfortunately, buyer 7 was not given permission to load, select the catalog. That's why we're not seeing. Otherwise, you will be selecting an item from catalog. This is your catalog item. Once you select that item, click on this plus button. Sorry, it will be added to this cart. For example, this one. Okay. Once it is added, you click on proceed to checkout. Once you click on proceed to checkout, then Ariba will create one PR and with other details. So this is one method, accessing purchase requisition directly from your catalog search, or you click on create requisition, or you click on this button, create directly and non-catalog item. By clicking on non-catalog, whichever the way you're going to create. So I'm cancelling it. I am going to click on create requisition. So same way, it will come to your catalog item. Suppose if you have contracts created, I want to use that contract for creating a PR, then you can select that contract also. Remember, we created one contract complaints test. Created. Let's select any one of the supplier. Maybe we'll just verify. I do not have. Generally, what will happen once you select this contract, whatever the item which we have mentioned there, that item will be visible. Click on plus button. It will take you to the purchase requisition screen. Okay. In that case, since I do not have, I'll be clicking on create requisition. Continue working. PR3864. Okay. I will select non-catalog item. Sometimes you will not see this non-catalog item in your production system. In order to select non-catalog item, the user has to be added to allow purchasing from non-catalog item list. So once the user is added to that group, only those people only can see that non-catalog item. Otherwise, it will restrict the user to select only catalog item. Now, it is asking me to enter my purchasing organization. What is the item which I am going to purchase? Or you can mention what is this purchase requisition for. Computers. And select the commodity code. Computer equipment. Automatically, once you select, so this is based on what type of accounting type. Item category material. Quantity 1. I will say 5 quantity. I just put $50. Update amount. These are all additional custom fields which is created for the customer. Vendor. Here I need to select the vendor. Let's select any one vendor. You can enter supplier part number if you're knowing. Click on add to cart. Once you click on add to cart, you can continue this shopping with multiple items. If you're okay with this item, click on proceed to checkout. Then Ariba will create a PR. You give the description of your PR, purchasing for new department or new user. User August. Then these are all company codes is standard, but these are all some custom fields. Okay, these are all your header fields. Any changes to this field has to be requested from your Ariba. We will not be able to do that. Once you come here, you will be line item details. You are going to see all your line items. So this is your line item computer. Before I want to click on, I'll saying a check whether everything is okay or not. If budget is enabled, clicking on check button will also verify the budget. There is a one problem that need to be corrected. So once I go here, this line item I will select. You see the rate item. The line item contains one or more invalid field. Select that line item, action, edit. Then you will be seeing computers, accounting information, which is asking now. I need to enter accounting information, petty cash, GL, click on, then shipping by line item. This is where it is going to ship. It is going to deliver. When you want this item to be delivered, purchase group, click on OK. Now, it seems fine. Either I can click on a check button. If I want to see the approval flow for this purchase, who will be your approval flow? In order to do that, need by date must be entered. So need by date. This is your header level need by date and line item level need by date. So once I submit it, it goes to the buyer 4 for an approval. I'll click on submit. Fortunately, as a downstream, we will able to view the requisition. Now my PR has been submitted. Now under approval flow, as an administrator, I cannot delete it. Okay. So a buyer 4 has to approve it. We were having click on submit. Sorry, it is in compose instead. Yeah. Now view the request. Okay. Once we able to submit, we will see the approval flow. Once we click on delete, it will automatically go to the next step. So let's go to any of the ordered PO. Home page. More. Click on procurement. Procurement. Requisition. Click on search. So under requisition search, you can also search by whatever the options are available. I want to select a status. So which is I want to select ordered status. So what are all the PRs which are in? Okay, I will tell you the status also. Composing is the first status. After you prepared your PR, once you submitted, it will go to the submitted status. After submitted, then it will go for the approval process. Approval process means like buyer 4 is an approver. So once I submit this one, it is under approval until that buyer 4 takes an action. Once buyer 4 approves it, it will go to the approved action. Then these things are not required. Suppose here in purchase requisition, if you do not select a supplier, you want to collaborate with the supplier and find out which is the right supplier, then you use this collaboration option. In most of the cases, you won't see this option. Denied. Suppose you were approved by F4 in our case, if he did not approve it, that PR will be in denied status. Invalid also, I'm not sure invalid. Okay. Ordering status. Once your approval is done, it will go to the ordering status. Here it is establishing a connection to send this PR to your supplier. Once the supplier, it is communicated to the supplier, we will going to see ordered status. These are all your PR statuses. After ordering, then these are all your receiving status. So receiving means you have done partial receiving, then that will be in receiving status. If you receive complete receiving, for example, 10 quantities I have received, I will be seeing received status. Canceling. If you are canceling your purchase order, I created PO for 10 quantity. Later I found that I do not want to proceed with the order. Then I can click on order cancellation. Then you are going to see a temporary period of cancelling, and then you will see cancel status also. Once the communication sent to the vendor, you will be seeing. Here we are not seeing invoicing option since invoicing is not used. Otherwise, you will also see invoicing and invoicing reconciliation status also. In our case, I want to see what are all the PRs which are all ordered for the last 3 weeks. By default, system will prompt you 3 weeks. You can change your period by selecting here. When I click on set, all the PRs which are submitted and order status in the last 3 weeks period, I can able to see here. PR laptop order status. It was able to success that time. Orders. So once my PR is submitted, this is what I am going to see. Order number will be available here. So this is a contract-based purchase order. Amendments, receipts. As I mentioned, the open receipts will be visible here. History. It will give all the history. I'll click on orders. Then I will also see full details about my purchase order. Approval flow. Generally, we don't have an approval flow here. What are the receipts posted? What are the invoice posted again as the purchase order? Payment status. Okay. Then history. So it will give you the details of your history.